the I-80 Club After Dark. Josh Peterson, Jack Mitchell with you. If you are hanging out live on YouTube with us, like it, subscribe, like it, subscribe, like it, subscribe. We would love to have you as a patron at patreon.com/I-80 Club. We are coming to you late Saturday night. I believe this is the
really
latest show
dark
that we have ever done.
Really after dark.
Yeah, 9:30 p.m. in the Midwest right now. If you're listening after the fact, Minnesota is at the USC 18-yard line with 3 minutes to go, trying to
Just got another
take
first.
the lead. Woo-hoo-hoo. They're going to be able to tick some more clock off.
They're going to bring
Jack
out
Mitchell.
Dragon for the field goal.
How are you?
Bad.
You're a little chipper, a little chippier than I was expecting, if I'm being honest.
Me too. I said this morning that I cared if I had one choice between the football game and the Royals game, that I wanted the football game. My demeanor during the two games you would not have believed that was the case based on my demeanor between the two games, because I was a stark raving psycho during the Royals game, and I was pretty calm and collected during the football game. But hey, it's a W, and I'm ready. Oh, Minnesota. Oh, boy. They're going to score too fast.
Woo! Yeah, USC's got to start. I guess they got the 2-minute timeout coming up. 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
No, I'm not calling it the 2-minute timeout, but they got the 2-minute warning coming up, and then they'll take some time out.
Listen,
timeouts.
In terms of Nebraska,
Yeah.
Josh, like, I am fully embracing winning ugly, winning despite issues, winning games that people thought you were going to lose. However it looks, I don't care. I can forget that. Maybe it'll bring problems down the road, and maybe it won't, to be honest, because frankly, every week there's kind of a different slew of problems that have come along, and so they may go away like some of the other ones did. And some of them don't go away. I can acknowledge that too. But to be on the winning side when you haven't, and to get a stop at the end of a game, Josh, when you have not done that for freaking ever,
One score game win.
It's a good day. And you have, I mean, what is it? Unless you now you got to lose out not to make a bowl.
Yeah. Don't put that into existence.
I did not mean that.
Don't put that into existence.
I feel like UCLA, I don't know. I feel I'm like they'll be good, but we'll see.
Yeah, but welcome in. If you're joining us live and you are not a subscriber to the I-80 Club, Jack and I, we do pods multiple times a week. We promised for the football season that we would do at least 3 pods a week. This is number 6 for the week. We've had multiple conversations with some great guests. Mike Schaefer and I did an NFL podcast on Monday morning. We also do a Saturday morning coffee show every Saturday live exclusively for our subscribers. We would love to have you join us at patreon.com/I-80 Club. But as Jack mentioned, Nebraska picks up a win. They move to 5-1 on the season, and indeed, they would have to now lose out to miss their first bowl game since 2016. So obviously they're going to make a bowl game, and they do so. They have.
People are already mad at me for having said that in the chat already.
Yeah,
so.
Well, they can deal with it. Oh, yeah, and by the way, if you want your comments right in the chat, you do have to become a subscriber to patreon.com/I-80 Club.
Please do that.
So they get another victory, Jack, and they do so again. It's like the same as the other wins, but it's also different in like the frustrations, right? Like,
is it the same or is it different? That's a great question. Is it the same or is it new?
There are frustrations in the second half mainly, but it's like today they were different frustrations. So
these
that
are the
was
recurring frustrations. These are the new ones. These are the things that are now good that weren't before.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me start. I was bound and determined to come on the show not leading off with negative, because they won the freaking game and they covered, right? They won the game, they covered. But Josh, let me make this point at the very outset.
Okay.
And I said this after the Illinois game. The biggest thing that stressed me out about this team after Illinois was that we had fool's gold with the defense. Okay.
Yes.
That was far and away, and I still stand by that. Like, that was the thing that concerned me most, was that what happened against UTEP, what happened against Colorado, when they got a whole bunch of sacks, when they got quarterback pressure, that was fool's gold, and they were not going to have that during the conference season. What we've learned since that game, at least in these last 2 games, is the exact opposite. The defense has been, since the Illinois game, the defense has been as good as you could have ever hoped. I mean, there's very little to critique. The pass rush is back. They're getting turnovers. The coverage is good. You're finding new guys who are making plays. Like, it's all about as good as you could ever hope with the defense. And that was my I'm actually a little bullish going forward. People are going to be mad. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't want to impute negativity on everyone. I'm a little bullish on this team because the defense, I'm starting to believe the defense, Illinois was the fool's gold, or at least the fool's poop at that point. And the real character of this defense is what we saw the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, we're going to talk about special teams. We're going to talk about play calling. We're going to talk about offense. But to me, that was the most important thing after the Illinois game, and that box has been checked for 2 straight weeks.
Hey, Jack, how about this? So Kyle Monungai, we talked about him on the pod this morning. We talked about him on the pod on Wednesday. John and I talked about him on my radio show all week long. Like, you got to make sure that he is not an efficient runner. He gets his yards. He usually gets over 100 yards. Today was the first time that he didn't all season, but it normally takes a lot of carries. But the one thing that I was kind of holding on to hope for was that his yardage normally comes against, or the efficiency rather, has come against the weaker opponents that they open the season with. He starts the day in the first quarter, 64 yards on 8 carries, 8 yards per carry. Incredible efficiency.
Looks good.
And we're thinking, oh my gosh, he's very slippery. They're doing a great job in terms of blocking and play design, et cetera, et cetera. He finishes with 19 carries for 78 yards. So after the first quarter, he rushed, Jack, you ready for this? 11 times for 14 yards.
Yeah.
And like, say what you want about the play caller, and certainly whatever that guy's name is, he's probably getting the Satterfield treatment on the I-80 Club Rutgers edition tonight. But good Lord,
Turnpike Club.
Oh yeah, they shut him down. They absolutely shut him down, and it forced them to throw the ball around a ton. Your boy Ethan Kaliakmanis, 15 of 37, 186 yards.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah,
I thought
the
he was really good.
The majority of those yards came on that one drive, on their scoring drive. Otherwise, they completely shut that guy down. Completely shut him down.
Yeah, like and Rutgers certainly could have run more, probably should have run more, but even when they did, it didn't work. Yeah. Like it was after that point you mentioned, there was one point I looked at the stats and Monungai had I think 4 or 5 attempts, and his long of those attempts was 1 yard. It was like that bad for a while there for him. So
yeah, they completely shut him down. Shut him down.
And they pressured. I mean, the pressure was on for Kaliakmanis, and we saw Ty Robinson do his thing. James Williams.
2 sacks. 5 total
tackles.
He had?
Felt like it was more than that, man.
Yeah. Dude, they had a ton. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Let me see if I can get them up real fast. They had a ton of pressures, Nebraska did, or tackles for losses rather. 9 TFLs in this game. They were all over it. They were all over it in terms of how they defended things. It made it really, really difficult. It made it really, really difficult for that Rutgers offense. And, it's no wonder that it took until the very end of the game for them to finally score.
Yeah. I mean, they adjusted to whatever was happening in the running game. And Monungai's I didn't realize he was so elusive, man. I was impressed with him.
He was impressive.
I honestly, even though he didn't have a great second half of the game, I was still impressed with that guy, but even more impressed with Nebraska's defense. Defensive line, the defensive line is back. It's really impressive, and you got a bunch of guys too. You got Buford, I think, who had a really, really good game, falling down those 2 plays that were problematic. Aside, you got Sierra Wright. Incredible. Unbelievable.
That interception, dude, and I feel like the announcers did not give it the credit that it deserved.
I agree.
Absolutely incredible interception.
LeBron had to be smiling ear to ear when he did that. His dad. Listen, we are going to talk the problems. Don't worry, negative Nellies. We are going to talk the problems. But if that defense can do that, Josh, there's very little that's off the table if that defense can do that. Yeah. If you can improve the other things. That's That's the thing. That's the non-negotiable to me for this team.
Yeah.
Is that defense for their chance to go way above expectations still this year. And we've seen it now for 2 weeks, and I'm thrilled that seems to be back right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened against Illinois, to be honest.
Yeah,
it gets more shocking the later it goes.
Yeah, it's a great question, man. Like, what happened in that game, and what have they been able to turn into since? Because, like, last week it made sense. It's Purdue. Purdue isn't very good. They got absolutely smoked today by Wisconsin. Like, Purdue is garbage. Like, we all know that.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. That's definitely true.
But this Rutgers team, they were 4-0 coming in, and they certainly have a good running back, and I was very much impressed by Monangai and what he was able to do. And yet the defensive line was able to get pressure again. They again got more pressure than they got sacks, where it's like, oh man, if they missed one here, they missed one there. And it's funny too, man, because early on the tackling, it was like, oh God, is this just who they are now? And then they just tightened things up and made things a whole lot more difficult. And Rutgers they just had stretches. They had stretches where they were unable to do anything where they're having these really short drives, 4 plays, 7 yards, interceptions, 5 plays, 22 yards, interception, 5 plays, 0 yards, and that was the one where they get the ball after the block punt at the 3-yard line and they don't score. 3 plays, negative 16 yards. Like, the defense had to make so many
by
plays.
the way, on that one. Can you believe they didn't? Do you think he was in on that one? After the block punt, when Rutgers was at the goal line?
Yes, I thought that he was.
What, the second down play, I think it was?
Yeah. Because, the third down play, they pushed him further back, didn't they?
Yeah, the third and fourth, they pushed him back, but I thought he was in. I couldn't believe they didn't challenge it.
Yeah. Alex says we are learning how to win. We are learning how to win.
100%. Listen, let me say it one more time for everyone in the back. They got to stop after the oh shit moment, Josh.
Yeah.
They got the oh shit moment was Buford falling down, punt. Right? Or yeah. No, I mean even later than that though. Like
you're talking about that oh shit moment. Yeah.
When Rutgers gets the touchdown, makes it 14-7, kicks off and stops Nebraska, and Nebraska's got a punt. And gets a good punt.
Great punt.
But that's the point where, I mean, we had it again. I had the feeling again. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. They've completely taken the momentum, and this is going to be the drive that doesn't look like the rest of the drives, the rest of the game. And they're going to do it here. And the defense stepped up and I mean, got the stop. They looked good in that situation. Don't take that for granted. Do not take that. That's not, that may not seem as dramatic as the end of the games that Nebraska's lost in these close ones. But that's when we've said, Josh, they can't get over this mental block until they actually get one of these. I mean, that's one of these, I think, or at least a step toward one of these.
Yeah, DZ says defense is learning how to win, offense and special teams. I'll pick a tiny bone that I'll pick with that. Defense, definitely. Defense got put in situations time after time after time in the second half. And somebody said this on Overreaction tonight, like, if this was the Scott Frost era, they would have lost. I'll do you one better. If this was last year, that they would have lost. The defense made play after play after play in the second half. And even though they gave up that touchdown drive, yet again, Jack, they take over. Rutgers does. Nebraska's on defense, up by a score. We saw them in that spot a bunch last year, and they were unable to make the play. But I will say, here's
when they looked good the whole game, Josh. When they looked good the whole game.
Like, are you serious? Up until that drive,
they looked like they got a whole new character in those the Wisconsin game, the Maryland game, the Iowa game. All of them.
Callie McManus didn't have 100 yards passing until that drive, and so it took that long for them to get going. But I will. This is where I'm picking the bone. Buschini delivered the punt of his career before that Rutgers final drive. That was insane, given how he began the game with the first punt blocked, given that he was obviously super injured. I mean, the guy's hobbling all over the place. And for him to deliver that punt in that moment, that's the only bone that I'll pick with the special teams. Doing something to help Nebraska win, and I guess the fake punt, but nothing resulted from that drive too. But that was so damn important, Jack, and he absolutely delivered in that moment. Absolutely delivered.
Here's the funny thing about that, Josh, is I thought like you could see how much. Wait, why is Minnesota going on 4th and goal and not kicking a field goal?
Oh my gosh, they did.
What are they doing?
Oh, did they give him a touchdown? They flashed the graphic. Oh, they
Yeah,
gave
but
it. Did they give it to him?
Josh, what in the hell is PJ Fleck
Oh.
doing? Why is he not kicking a field goal there?
I mean, is the only thought, like, if they don't score, are they content with overtime, I guess? That is wild. That is absolutely wild.
What? There's a minute left. What are they doing? PJ Fleck is potentially ending his career at Minnesota right now. As we speak.
They gave it to USC. Oh my gosh. Mo says clearly, and I thought we got to see a replay on this one. We got to see a replay on this one.
I mean, I cannot believe what just.
Oh,
Josh,
watch out, PJ! Don't pick up a penalty.
You guys want to talk about Satterfield making dumb coaching decisions?
He's in. That's a touchdown. I don't know if they're going to be able to overturn it though, but he scored.
Whatever. I don't care. Why in God's name you would not take that field goal?
Yeah. Oh. I think he scored.
Let me see this.
He's across the line. He has the football in his hands.
It's a touchdown. I don't know. I hope it's not, though, because PJ needs to be punished for that.
Oh,
that's ridiculous.
Man. Oh, man. Matt says channel. This is on BTN. BTN right now. Yeah, he is in. He's in.
It's a touchdown.
All right, never mind. They'll be able to overturn
that. But it's why would you? There's a minute. For those who don't know, it's tied. Minnesota has the ball at the 1-inch line.
Oh, my gosh.
There's 56 seconds left, and he didn't take the field goal, and he went in for try to get the touchdown instead.
Yeah.
Which just seems very overly Fleckian.
I mean, they are at the 1 yard. To be fair, they are at the 1 yard line.
I don't care. I don't care. You 100% take that field goal.
All right.
100% take that field goal.
All right.
Every time.
Looks like they must have gotten word that it's going to be overturned because they are
and they have a good kicker too. He's made a field goal to beat Nebraska.
How did they miss that? How did they miss that live? He's like halfway.
Because refs over the line. Because refs suck.
Yeah, that was
refs and umpires suck.
Oh man!
All right, they're celebrating. Anyway, back to
back to Nebraska.
Sorry about that.
And all of that to say, Buschini delivered when they had to. And so that was super impressive. Super impressive. Touchdown. Okay. Yeah. All right. Dude, USC looked good like 3 weeks ago, and now they could be suffering their second loss to a team that we view as mid to below mid in the Big Ten Conference. By the way, Washington just kicked a field goal to go up by 10 against Michigan.
Let's go.
So
let's go. Everybody's losing in the Big Ten.
Yep.
Everybody except for Ohio State and Oregon.
And that team in Lincoln.
Going
back to the learning how to win conversation. Like I think that today is important. There was a comment, and now it's a while ago, so I apologize for not giving the person credit. Maybe it was DZ that said, "Is it like are they trying to play close games on purpose?" DZ. Oh wait, no, that was the one that I already read. Here it is. NU1 is Rhule making games close on purpose.
That's not the worst question.
Yeah,
that is not the worst question.
Does end up being a positive for them that they get. I guess that they get the 1 win or close game thing off the ledger, which is nice because you don't have to worry about that anymore for at least a week. Jack, are you okay?
Sorry, I'm responding. I'm responding. Okay. I'm being attentive to the chat.
I just couldn't tell because your face was like in the camera.
Sorry, Adam was like, LOL, does Jack think Nebraska would take that field goal?
No way. No way.
Yes, they would, first of all.
Couldn't disagree more.
I would be furious if they didn't.
They'd go for the touchdown.
Even this year. But it's a totally different situation because they don't have a competent field goal team, and Minnesota does. I can't. Okay, I'm trying. Let's see.
Yeah.
Bring it in.
Wait, this isn't even about Nebraska. You don't even have to make this a frustrating debate. This isn't even about Nebraska.
It was about me. Everyone, hard to disagree, Jack. Awesome. This is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Bringing it in, not being angry.
Are you angry at me or the chat? Because I'm with the chat. That Nebraska definitely goes for it on 4th down from that exactly.
Nobody should. Unless you don't have any ability to make a field goal. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Okay.
Nebraska doesn't. To be fair, Nebraska's close to that. And Nebraska's close to that. But it's a dumb comparison because Minnesota obviously
Can
can
you
make a
imagine if
field goal.
Nebraska goes for the field goal and they miss it from the 1
Thank
foot
you,
line with a
I-formation.
minute to go? Oh man.
I mean, it's an extra point. Nebraska hasn't missed an extra point all year. That you guys are ridiculous.
Is that true? They haven't missed an extra point yet?
No,
I feel like they've
been perfect.
Wow. Oh, impressive.
That's all that is.
Impressive.
Thank you. Okay, people are look at this. All right.
See there, you didn't even have to
Going for it tied with 1 minute left. It's an insane decision. It's more insane if you're Minnesota than if you're Nebraska. It's insane. It's certifiable. I would fight. He shouldn't leave that stadium tonight if that didn't work out.
Okay. Back to Nebraska.
Back to Nebraska. Okay. Let's see. I will tell you what, Josh, when they did that fake, I mean, if that fake punt failed, though, I mean, let's talk about that. If that fake punt failed.
Well, I thought you said you didn't want to go to negative town. This is pretty negative town, Jack.
I can't believe he had the balls to call that.
Did you see the tweet that I had about my dad? Did you see this? Did you hear about this? So my dad texted our family group chat, and I missed this because I was driving to the station to do this show. So he texted us right as like halftime is going on. He says, "We are down by the concessions out of the sun and watching over on the practice field. They are working on a fake punt where Brian Buschini gets the snap and throws it towards the right. Stay tuned. You heard it here first." My dad texted that, and an hour later, Jack, Nebraska ran a fake punt. Nebraska ran a fake punt.
We've told the story here that I knew about the stunts to Eric Crouch pass, right?
I mentioned that on Overreaction today.
Did you?
That on Overreaction today.
That's the closest thing I've ever gotten to that. I didn't think that could ever happen again. I thought that could only happen in like the pre-internet era, but apparently not. Amazing.
Yeah, so Big Red Easy says that happened during halftime. Yeah, it happened with just a few minutes to go. That was right before. The timestamp of that is like 5-6 minutes before they go back onto the field for the start of the second half.
Oh my God.
So like the special teams players are over on the practice field away from everything in that moment doing something. I-formation. I love that it says father. Yeah, when I was a kid, I changed my dad's name in my phone from dad to father. And it's just one of those things now where I'm gotten so used to it because it's been that way for 20 years that I just can't change it away from that. And so I never will. My mom is in my phone as mom.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We were down by concessions out of the sun watching on the practice field.
So they were in the north because they have seats in the new East Stadium in the upper deck and 600 level. So they must have been in the far north part of that because the practice field is down there, right? The new practice field is to the north. So they must have just been looking at it. I'll see him tomorrow. I'm going over to watch the Cowboys game tomorrow night, so I'll ask him. I'll get more of a background, and I'll have that for the club.
That throw was not an easy throw, though. No. I get it. Like they thought they had it, and I get that, and they were right. They did because of the block that they had on. But that throw is not an easy throw for Buschini to make. Like I cannot believe they had the balls to do that. I really can't. And Rhule talked about it in his press conference. He was like, we probably should have done that earlier because they were afraid they were going to go away from what they were doing. But like that would, can you just imagine if Lloyd would have dropped it or the pass was just a little short or something and Rutgers got set up for that? Like that's one of the freaking gutsiest fakes I've ever seen.
Yeah. It really is in that moment in time. And it's
I don't
too
want
bad
to overrate it like crazy, but it really is.
Yeah, it's too bad that it doesn't lead to, anything happening. It gives them a little bit more breathing room, field position-wise, and it's like a really cool, gutsy call. But in the end, it's such a bummer
that's a legacy
the drive,
of it.
because like if it's 14-0 in that moment, if they go down and they score and they go up 21-0, it's like, oh my gosh, it was the nail in the coffin for the Scarlet Knights, and yet it isn't.
Nebraska's looked for that play all year in multiple games, and they've never gotten it.
Yeah.
Isn't that freaking crazy?
Yeah.
They have looked for the nail in the coffin in how many games this year?
By the way, USC is moving the ball right on down the field. Wow. But yeah, you're right. They have
15 seconds left.
Yep.
Maybe I'll be wrong. You know what? Look at them moving. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he knew their defense couldn't stop Miller Moss.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, what a call! What a call! Especially in a game where again the special teams were playing like crap.
I thought that call meant. This is incorrect, but my thought at the time was that Buschini physically couldn't punt it.
Oh, interesting.
Because he was so holy!
Oh, wow. What a day of college football, man. What a freaking day of college football.
Nebraska
God.
moves ahead of USC in the standings.
Oh,
Woo!
my gosh. Wow, yeah, imagine having 2 losses in the Big Ten after your 5th game. Couldn't be me.
Sad.
Be me, Jack.
Very
Couldn't
sad.
be me.
Yeah, I thought Buschini was like he looked so a couple of times he looked like he was in so much pain in his lower back that I thought maybe he just couldn't punt it, and that they felt like they couldn't go for it, and so that was the only thing they could do outside of and they Dylan quick kicked that one time.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was their only option. Dylan's second quick kick of the year. Amazing. The whole punt game, I mean, my goodness. Josh, when they did block it, the dude was freaking untouched up the middle.
Yeah.
Like untouched up the middle. And then the insane thing, they had such an easy time blocking it. Nebraska punts from their own end zone after that, and they back all those dudes off, and they don't rush it. I swear they would have blocked it if they
didn't
tried.
just do that every single time.
What in the F were they thinking?
It's so funny, man.
I was like, what a gift.
One of the things that I talked about with you, I talked about with John throughout this week was I thought that one of the problems for Nebraska in this game was going to be like the coaching. That just like Shiano has been around the block a few times. And like it showed on that punt block, like they'd obviously seen something in how Nebraska defends it. They bring the house. I couldn't believe that Nebraska's gunner doesn't come in and help protect. And so they just go untouched. They just bull rush them and overload them.
From the middle.
They didn't do that anymore.
It was like the guy over the center who got through there.
Yeah. So like it was so difficult. And then yet after that, it was like they never really tried again. At least to that
before
degree.
Where they took Buschini out too. The first time they got a hand on the punt.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I was talking about that one. Yeah.
Oh, the one where they completely blocked was straight up the middle, though.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they bring in a guy, and so like Nebraska at that point is just completely overloaded, and they can't handle what's happening there. It was so bad that like in my group chat, one of my friends was like, "Why isn't there a flag?" And it's like, no, they hit the ball.
They murdered him, but they got the ball, which you can. I had explained that to my wife and daughter who were watching.
Oh, really? Yep. Once you hit the ball,
they were like, "Can you do that?" And I was like, "Well, it was fun. It was funny explaining to him because I was like, well, if you touch the ball, you can do that." And they were like, "Why does that make a difference?" And I'm like, I can't really.
Well, I think the reason why is like if you are far enough up there to actually make contact with the ball, it's just kind of fair game after that. And yeah, they just knocked the shit out of him, and props to him for being able to again battle through. He was Jordan. I legit thought Buschini was dead. I thought he was too. Done. I thought he was done.
And then he looked like he was in so much pain after that next one. I was like,
yeah.
So I really thought when he threw that pass, it was because he could not physically punt the ball, which I found out later was not true. And I'm so glad I cannot hear the audio of this PJ Fleck interview. I am so glad it's muted. So glad.
By the way, though, some other stuff that's
happening formation right said I really thought he broke his leg.
Seriously, he was on the field for so long, and then after that, it looked like it was something with his back. And you're thinking in the moment, like, oh man, they lost. Oh wow, look at that photo. You're thinking, oh no, they lost their punter. But then it's like, no, they didn't just lose their punter; they also lost their holder, which would have been really bad as well.
That's a good call, and their best tackler,
and their
best passer.
And their best tackler and their best passer. By the way, Tennessee is into Arkansas territory under 6 minutes ago.
Is that close too?
Yeah, they're only up by a point, Jack.
Oh my gosh!
5:52.
I have missed so much tonight by paying attention to baseball. Never again. Never again.
Yeah, Jack told me before we started, he was like, I wish that I would have been watching football.
I miss college football is so much more
enjoyable.
You
missed the Bama game. You didn't see the Bama game.
Well, that was just because of the Husker game. Because D'Lo kept commenting in the chat. He's like, Vanderbilt's winning against Alabama. And I sort of thought that was like a dream or something was wrong or that wasn't true.
It was a bit.
It was a bit. And then after the Husker game, we switched over to it and we watched the end of it. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, that's the most ridiculous upset since Jim Harbaugh beat USC, Stanford against USC.
Wow, you think so? That's a fun topic. Yeah, it's hard to argue with that.
Am I wrong? What was the line? Well, I mean, you could do it by spread, but
yeah. Well, today's line I do not think was as big. The USC one, it was like a 41-point spread. USC was 41-point favorites when
This
when
couldn't have been a
Stanford
ton lower than that, would it?
I think it was in the 20s. I think I saw that it was like 24.5 or something like that. 27.5. 23.5 says Adam. So yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I would have taken Alabama on that.
I mean, my guess is it was that low because it was just
really?
just the spot where they were coming off of the crazy Georgia game last week.
22.5. Wow, I'm glad I didn't see that spread, to be honest.
Yeah, so here's what happened to the top 10 teams.
I would have lost
By the way,
my ass.
so Bama loses by 5. They're number 1. Missouri got absolutely murdered this morning by Texas A&M, 41-10. They were number 9. Michigan loses. That game is officially over. And now Arkansas has the ball with 5.5 to go, down by a point, trying to win the game. But they have a long ways to go. They're inside their own 10.
How much freaking chaos if Arkansas goes and wins this?
Dude, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
USC, Alabama, Arkansas, and the great unbeaten Rutgers all going down in one day.
And the great unbeaten Rutgers.
The great
Husker for MU. Who could have predicted that Missouri was a fraud? Yeah.
No,
that
good
was
call.
I feel like that was such
I was all over it. I agree.
Yeah, I was as well.
I agree with that.
Jordan, so not a C- week, right? Yeah. I instead of giving the grade, because that's a shot, I believe, across the bow at the grades that John and I gave it. I need to stop predicting it. Just like when the vibes are bad, I should just give it an A, because weeks like this are
it always
awesome.
happens. Every
It
time
does.
you think a week, I mean, that's a truism of college football. Every time you think a week is going to suck, it's great.
Here's a comment, Jack, that I think you're going to dig. Chris writes, judging college football this season with all the wild games, we should be nothing less than happy as hell with the fact that we are 5-1. On any week you can get got, all you can ask for is a W. It's hard to win.
So Nebraska they're going to be ranked again next week.
I was figuring that's what you were
Let's
checking
see.
right now.
So they were third, 28, 26, 27, 28. Pittsburgh won, didn't they? They were playing. I was watching a little bit. North Carolina, right?
Yeah. The last I saw, they were up. I guess I don't know what ended up.
I think
there.
Arizona is playing tonight, and their coach will be wearing like an entire forest around his neck. UNLV's 25. They lost. Illinois 24. They were idle. Indiana. Did Louisville end up losing to SMU?
Pitt won. Yes, SMU won.
Okay, Louisville's dropping out then.
So what's that? Is that 2 teams
UNLV,
dropping out? So
that's
you need
2
one
dropping
more?
out. So Nebraska might be 26, I think.
You need one more team to drop out?
Yeah.
Well, and then the next time, they're not playing next week, obviously, so maybe you get some help in front of you, and the next time you're playing undefeated and ranked Indiana. Big noon kickoff. Give it to us. Give it to us. Give it to us. Though, Jack,
it was a little close today, wasn't it, though?
Yeah, it was. They still won by 17, so they win another game by double digit. Yeah.
I didn't know. I watched it during halftime. I didn't know they ended up winning by 17.
Yeah. Though somebody did say it in the chat earlier. It's like they beat another tin can. They did indeed beat another tin can, but sometimes that's what you have to do. It's
that's gonna be fun. That's gonna
by
be
the way, Jack, I
game.
was looking at potential times for that game because this was one of those. It could literally be on at any time of day. This is an 11, 2:30, 3 o'clock, or 6:30 game. So I guess I've been so bullish on big noon, but I think I will correct myself and say whomever in the Big Ten has first pick for television is going to pick the game. So it could be an NBC
best Big
night
Ten
game.
You're telling me.
Correct. It could be an NBC game. It could be a CBS game. It could be a Fox game. I know that I'm not helping that. Like, that gives you literally all the time slots. But I guess I didn't realize that it was a potential to be across the entire board. So whichever the Big Ten TV networks has the game is going to pick it. So it'll be at night, or it'll be in the morning, or it'll be right in the middle of the day.
Oh my gosh. Arkansas punted and had an amazing punt.
Yeah, great punt. They flipped the field.
Holy crap. I didn't see the punt. I don't know how Tennessee is on their own 20, though.
Yeah.
Because he had a kick of that out of his own end zone, I think. Jeez.
Yeah, nice punt. So Tennessee has the ball down by a point.
Let me just say it one more time.
Yeah?
For everybody. If you think you know who a team is, you don't.
Hey, I apologize to myself for thinking that I knew what I knew about Tennessee. They don't look very good right now. They don't look very good. Jack, should we talk about the Nebraska offense? I imagine many people on many sides.
All right, let's get. Yeah, we put it off long enough. It's fine. It's fine. We need to.
Let's. Cal is about to tie it, by the way. Versus
By the way,
scored a touchdown.
what was and let me ask you this question first before we get into this, and it can lead into that. But
okay.
I didn't listen to your game. I was out on Football Reaction after the game because I was watching baseball. Like, what's sort of the prevailing sentiment after this game?
Well, iFormation says no play calling talk, winking emoji. Honestly, like there was some Satterfield stuff. The majority of the discourse was actually about special teams and Ed Foley. So like that, what I would say has dominated our
that's
conversation.
fair in my opinion, by the way.
It was very much dominated by talk about the garbage special teams. And then there was, so it's interesting. The offensive discourse was in a weird way, like less about Satterfield and kind of more about Raiola. And like there was, I don't know if you saw this, but this like, why is he so lackadaisical and why doesn't he look engaged and all of this stuff? I'm wondering, do you think that that's like a fair criticism?
I don't know about engaged. He just didn't look like himself.
He definitely didn't look like himself. There's still a part of me that thinks he got banged up, that he got hurt a little bit when I need to find the exact moment. And so if somebody can help me out, he got absolutely rocked, like slammed to the ground really hard. I think it was at the end of the third quarter. But I'm not 100% sure. And so I want to go back and I want to look at his completions before that moment, and then I want to look at it after that moment. Now, there are a few comments coming in. So Armac says his body language was funky. DZ says he looked very upset. Husker for MU says he got down on himself. So I'll be honest, like, you know, when I'm at the station and I'm getting ready for overreaction, I'm watching the play and then I'm kind of putting stuff together. I was also bouncing back and forth between that and the Royals game, so I wasn't always watching his body language. So I guess I have to go off of what people are saying. But so, like, you think that there was something there, Jack, that, like, the way he was responding, do you think it was frustration or something more than that?
I don't know. I mean, but from what I know, and I think I know of him, it feels like there needs to be a little bit more of an explanation than just frustration. Like, I don't, for, you know, right or wrong, I don't see him. He seems to be so impervious to kind of emotional blips. And like, that would surprise me, right? If it was just, well, I'm having a bad day, I'm super down on myself. Like, from what I know of and who I conceive of him to be, and I could be wrong, but that doesn't seem right. So, like, if there was something like you were talking about, that would make more sense to me, to be honest.
Because, so, like, if you go back, and again, if somebody is hanging out with us right now and you either have access to the game or whatever, like, I would love to know exactly when it happened so I can go on my YouTube DVR and find it. And because, like, so here's what I noticed in the moment. He laid on the ground just a beat longer, and like, so the camera cuts away and it shows whatever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is he hurt? They go back to him and he gets up, and it's like, okay, he's not hurt. But when he walks off, his shoulders were slouched, like his right shoulder looked like a little lower than his left shoulder, and so the first thing that I wondered was like, oh man, is something going on with his shoulder? And, you know, and so the next drive he comes onto the field. Obviously, he's still throwing the ball around. But again, completion percentage way, way different after that than it was before that. And, you know, so.
And Rutgers isn't a great pass defense, you know?
No, they're not.
Nebraska's seen better this year.
Yeah, Big RDC says he's taken some hard hits on his shoulder this year. He definitely has. Alex points out he finally had an actual interception. Yeah, and that was rough. That interception that he had, Jack, was horrible.
Arkansas is in business. Well, let me tell you about that interception. I think
it was an RPO.
Yeah. What I think happened was the snap was bad and it's a rhythm. So he didn't have the run option anymore.
Oh,
are you ahead of me now?
I don't know.
You jerk.
They're at the 21-yard line now.
Damn, you spoiler. Woo! Field goal range, baby. 241. Run that ball.
Dude, what a day. What a day. God, I love this sport.
They're going to get to the 1 yard line, and it's going to be fourth down, and they're going to insist on going for it. I think,
man.
Josh, to that interception, like, I think that snap screwed up a timing thing.
Yeah.
He felt like he had to catch up.
Yeah.
He felt like he had to catch up on the pass because the run was no longer an option. This is theorizing here.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't an RPO, but either way, like, I felt like he thought he had a timing pattern there. And so he hustled to get it out and he didn't bother to look. And I think the snap was, it's not dismissing that he didn't make a good throw at all, but I think that played into it big time.
Yeah. Dave Fight says a lot of high snaps today. Yeah, if I remember right, that was the second high snap on that drive.
Man.
Second, and it's such a bummer with him because he's a senior. He's like a COVID senior, right? Like he's been around the block quite a few times.
Ben Scott,
and you wonder, that snap's contagious. Yeah, maybe he caught the bug from the special team.
Can anyone snap it to a distance?
Yeah, seriously, very difficult. Very, very difficult. So yeah, that I think, Jack, that you're spot on.
And Josh, like I told you this morning, man, I want to see Emmett Johnson get 10 to 15 carries. Well, I saw it today. It wasn't. Yeah.
As the leader of the as the leader of the Emmett Johnson hype, Jack, I need to take some lumps for that one. It was yet again, Dowdell is just insanely consistent. He is who he is, for better and for worse, but he got his yards. Jack, he got his yards like he always does. He still ran into the lineman like he always does, but he got his yards. He got his yards.
He did. I mean,
the blocking on his touchdown run was awesome. And that reminds me, this is how I wanted to lead off the offensive discussion before we got into the crap. You need to apologize. You were mad about the fancy play call last week, and then it leads to a damn touchdown today. Apologize, Jack.
It almost looked like the same play. It
was the same play.
It looked like the Gabe Irvin play, but they had Bonner there.
It was the
I know.
same
I
play.
almost said something. You're right. That's fair. That's fair. I'm too critical of Satterfield. It's
Classic
me.
Jack. Always critical of the coaches.
It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
He never complains about refs. He only complains about his coaches.
There were a couple times. This is funny because we're going to end up going to the later part of the game. There were a couple times in the first half when I was like, God, that was a great play call. What was the other one? What was a weird
the
play
screen.
Call?
Dude, the screen.
Was that screen? What was that play? I can't remember.
Raiola fakes a handoff, fakes another handoff, and then slips it in with the sidearm pass, and Ramir Johnson runs all the way down. Oh,
that play, which looks a little scary at the beginning.
Oh.
I love, that was one of the ones that I would definitely have said was too cute at this point. It's super interesting because I have a different critique of Satterfield than most people do. Let me ask you this, first of all. I assume you had a lot of that on your call-in show tonight. What was the prevailing critique? Was it that late in the game they didn't run it enough?
They were too conservative. Late in the game. So it's actually that they were running the ball too much.
Really?
Yeah. They didn't like that Nebraska.
That's not what it was in the. That's not what it was in the Discord, by the way.
Yeah, so like the criticism was that their play calling was too predictable. And here is, I guess, not to continue to be. And I can't believe that I have become a Satterfield defender, given how I felt about him when they hired him. But Jack, they began the second half. Nebraska did before the kneel down. So these are the drives before the last drive of the entire game. They begin the drives. I got to make sure I have the drive chart. Here we go. All right, so they begin the drives in the second half at their own 2-yard line, their own 2-yard line, their own 20-yard line, their own 3-yard line, and their own 29-yard line. Those drives, 5 drives, averages out to the 11-yard line is where Nebraska began their drives. And 3 of them were inside of their own 3-yard line. And so I mention all of that to say this. I just don't know what you expect from play calling in those moments. You know, especially as your quarterback. I think Gary had a stat that he was 2 for his final 9 throws. Like, what are you wanting to do in those moments? And I thought the line blocked fairly well again, but sometimes these backs, man, they just run right into them. Instead of it's like, hey, there's space over there to the left.
There was a moment in the middle of the game where I was like, this blocking is sexy during this game.
I couldn't agree more.
There was a couple of times, and it didn't last later into the game.
It did not. No, at the end of the game, it was pretty bad.
But, like, there was a portion in the middle where I was like, oh, my gosh, between the line and between, sorry. Well, they're out. Too soon, though? That's too soon, isn't it?
A lot of time.
What the hell was that play? They let him score.
Either that or they got fake because the running back knew it.
They let him score.
Ooh, 117. Yeah, that's a lot. That's certainly a good amount of time.
I think they let him score. But there were a few times, and like that touchdown, When they put Mazuka at tight end, the blocking on that Liebentritt had some really good blocks. There were a couple of times where I was like, man, the blocking, how long has it been since you said that? The blocking on this team is exciting me. And again, it didn't last throughout the game. I understand that, but there were moments where it definitely did. But man, when it broke down at the end, I don't have the answer, Josh. It's like obviously because there are going to be every game right or wrong, and sometimes the right and sometimes the wrong. There will always be, you can just build it into your expectations about post game. There will be a portion of people who say either A, they don't like Satterfield's play calling, or B, they don't think Nebraska's running the ball enough. They'll always be there. And they're right sometimes, they're wrong sometimes. And so I have a hard time paying attention to them at this point. Like, I'll be totally honest. It's just like, man, I get inundated with this every single game. But I don't know, like the offense, I don't think it was the play calling, but passes
were 42 carries today, by the way. 42 carries. They only averaged 2.3 yards per carry.
Passes weren't working. Runs weren't working. There was nothing working with the offense at the end of the game.
No.
Like nothing.
This is a great comment. Oh, sorry.
Go. I was just going to say, the only thing I was going to say is I think Schiano's a good defensive coach too.
Yeah.
Like, I know that defense they've not been statistically dominant by any means, but that's about the best explanation that I've got for the whole thing right now.
Let me read this comment from Stumanji because I find it really interesting, and I wonder if it kind of gets to the crux of the conversation with Satterfield, though maybe it is a bit too nuanced that, like, I wouldn't say that this is how everybody feels. But he says, my general issue with Sat is less the play calling and just the overall management of that side of the ball. Between development, recruiting, and sure throw and play calling / scheme, just seems like they're aiming no higher than mid-tier, which I guess that's not all on Sat but Rhule too, but that's just me. So I think that there is a lot of truth there. But here is where I would say that the truth, where it ultimately lies. It lies at the feet of Matt Rhule. How often, Jack, does he, and Happer and I were joking about this before the end of the game, and I don't think that Rhule said this in the press conference. He always mentions, sorry, this is kind of how I want to win. This is what I like doing. I like winning these games. I like it being ugly. I win on defense. He has mentioned that so many times, that he is a defensive coach, that he is built on defense and game management and not doing anything, silly or stupid. So I think that the issues that people have, I do wonder if it is less, and it's easier to just point at the games themselves rather than the holistic big picture. But I do think that it actually starts more with the big picture than it does the games themselves. Just because I think that this is how they want to be. But on a game like this, when your quarterback, who has really had a real good stretch of football, has his worst game, I think the warts show themselves even more. And Husker for MU says that makes my heart sink a bit. I believe this to be the case, though. Go look at his offenses. They're always like this. This is a team that is built, or a program. This is a Matt Rhule program that is built on defense. I think that, I don't know if I verbalized this, Jack. I think he wants to be like a rich man's Iowa that has better athletes. But I think he wants to win games in that vein, in that similar vein, where they're not winning 52-24. I think he wants to win games 24-10.
Why?
Because I think he is a conservative coach.
Josh, let me ask you this. Is he aggressive? Coach. He's aggressively, what I hear you saying, tell me if I'm wrong, is that he is accepting costs to play overly complimentary football, basically.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Like you said, kind of a souped up version of Iowa or something.
Justin
like that.
says Harbaugh-esque. What a comparison. Yeah, and they're not going to recruit, I don't think, at the level of Michigan. Armac, game control football. Another great way to describe it. And I'm sorry, I think that that's true, though. Go look at the scores of those Baylor games.
I don't disagree with your theory. I don't love it, but I think I don't disagree. Because honestly, the production of the offense today does not add up to the sum of its parts, in my opinion.
I would agree.
Neil, I don't think, did Neer even have a target today?
Yeah, he was wasn't he the guy who dropped it on the play that they didn't review or that they overturned the Wasn't that him? Wasn't that him over the middle, or was that Barney? I thought that was Naor.
It could have been.
The
But
targeting
whatever. He didn't
play.
have a catch, I don't think.
Yeah, the one that he got murdered on. He had 0 catches. Banks had 1 catch for 31 yards. So
that's insane.
I know.
That is insane. That's crazy, Josh.
Yeah.
Rutgers is not a shutdown pass. Oh no.
Wait till you see this play. My God.
Oh God. Oh jeez. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh no.
Hey, they're down. Hey, they're down by 5. They got to score a touchdown.
They got 2 timeouts. How do they have 2 timeouts left?
That's a good question. What a throw.
Jack.
Jack,
I think it's
I'm
an
with you.
excuse. I know there's a bunch of people who are like, they don't run it enough. I think it's inexcusable that Banks and Ayer they have 1 touch combined.
Okay, now, so I was not in the chat, but for a handful of moments in the second half, just because of getting ready for the show, there are people that thought that they didn't run it enough. Like
there are people, Josh. There are people.
Yes, but I'm talking about this was like a serious conversation that people said they need to run the ball more.
It will be forever.
But I'm talking about like in our club, not like in the ether. In the I-80 club, people were like, the team that rushed it 42 times and threw it 24 or 28.
Yeah, there were times. There was a period of time in the beginning of the fourth quarter where I think there was particular angst that they were not they were passing, not running clock, and not running the ball.
They did okay after the fake punt. I did want them to run the ball. I will say that after the fake punt, I did wish that they would have ran the ball. And then
it was more of a general thing about play calling, and they were passing, but they were doing both. But yes, I think so. Yes.
Okay. And then there was also the drive. I was still at home, so it would have been the first half. When
Big Red Easy says when Dylan missed throw after throw was starting to ask for them to run.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, he was
says, I hope we never run it again.
Nice. Yeah. There was the time too, Jack, it was the second quarter where they ran the first 6 plays of the drive. They went run. They picked up a first down on third. Run. They picked up another first down on third down, and then they went pass, and they ended up not doing anything. Comment from JP, is Nebraska's best chance at being elite being a program like that, though? Can we compete for the best playmakers? I think we compete for the best defensive kids, the best tight ends, all of that. Yeah, I think that is I think that's the push and pull, and this is a much bigger picture question than just what happened one game versus Rutgers. But I do think that is what he wants the program to be. I think he wants it to be built off of defense, because I think that he thinks that defense can travel. Defense is much more consistent from game to game and season to season.
I think you're right.
Jack, I would say this too. So, we all agree that they need to take advantage of having a 5-star quarterback, because the 5-star quarterback will be at the program for 3 years at the most, 1 year at the fewest. Obviously, that would be the floor, and that would be a very, very terrible floor if that were to be the case. Are they going to land another quarterback of this level at any point, in his time at Nebraska? Like, this might be the one time that they actually have a quarterback of this caliber. I would actually bet on it. So if that's the case, then it will definitely be a program that is built on defense more than anything else.
Does he like winning ugly? Does he like winning games that are unenjoyable to us?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting theory, and it's maybe the best one I've heard, to be honest, Josh.
Yeah.
To explain
he's
what's
a defensive
going on
guy.
right now.
Jim and O'Neill says the running game is good enough. If you can win a few more games this year, then your running back recruits will naturally get better. It is funny. I was thinking, what if they had Kyle Monungai today?
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, without a doubt. But it's just man, nothing. I don't have an answer for the offense in the second half, Josh. You can talk about play calling. You can talk about, the quarterback. You can talk about the offensive line. You can talk about the running backs. All of it sucked. There was nothing that worked out of all of it. I can't even point to one thing that was the problem. Without, maybe I can rewatch it and I'll feel differently, but it was just everything sucked completely.
Yeah.
With that during the entirety of the second half. And that's why your theory is kind of appealing to me at this point.
Appealing or sad?
Sad. I mean, I'm not happy, but I think there maybe is some truth to it at this point, but not that they're trying to fail intentionally, but
That he's okay with being average on offense.
Yeah.
I think that is maybe the best way to describe it. I think he is okay with being average on offense.
Yeah.
Because they're hoping that they can be great on defense. Because I think that he thinks that they can be consistently great on defense. I don't think that he thinks that on offense. But maybe I'm applying way too much to a,
Josh,
oh my gosh.
it's just,
wow.
Oh, God.
Wow. He pulled a Joe Daly, man.
Good. Oh, wow. So we ran out of bounds at the 1?
Yeah. Well, not at the 1,
at the
but
15.
Close to it.
Jeez, he did.
Wow.
It's Joe Maley, 2004 Southern Miss.
Dude, what a day.
College football. The playoff is Tennessee loses, if you're wondering what we're talking about.
What a day. What a freaking day. This has been
Mississippi
awesome,
has a loss. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee all have a loss, Josh.
Wow.
Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee all have a loss.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Everyone,
what a day.
Wait, no one is going unbeaten in the SEC. There's nobody.
Unless Texas finds a way to get through.
Texas.
Yep.
Texas.
Unless Texas finds a way to get through.
Good call.
Oh, they're good. I think Texas is the best team, and I think they have been the best team. And one of my hot takes coming out of last week that it was actually a problem that Alabama, very much allowed Georgia to get back into the game in the second half. Very much a problem.
Tennessee players are still giving 5 to their fans going into the locker room.
Nice.
That's funny.
Wow. That is not a loss that I saw coming tonight, man. That is
college football. As soon as we think the haves and the have-nots are just untouchable in college football, it is set in stone who the haves and have-nots are. And I'm not talking about on a conference level, but I'm talking about within a conference. A day like today happens, and you just say, quit assuming things. But we always do. We always do.
12 hours ago, Jack, we finished
3 games.
12 hours ago, we finished our podcast. And I lamented putting Ole Miss into my preseason college football playoff.
Right. I was like,
I believe in Tennessee more. Man. And they end up losing on the road to Arkansas. And it follows a day where multiple top 10 teams, I believe that is the 5th top 11 team now to lose today, I think is what it was. Going all the way to USC at number 11. Wow. Absolutely wild.
Just during this, we saw USC and Tennessee go down.
Yeah.
Michigan
and Cal's up, Jack, on number 8 Miami. Cal's up 14-7 right now.
It's a blood week. Let's go. What a great sport.
What a
great sport. I mean, crazy. I think back to our interview with Ryan Nanny, and we were like, the podcast presupposes that this sport is dead, and there's so much that we don't like about it yet, Josh. There is so much. Today is unbeatable. It's unbeatable. I watched baseball and I missed it all night because it's just more fun than baseball.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we have barely talked about the Royals so far tonight. I mean, let's save that for the end of the podcast. Let's save that for the very end. No words on the Royals.
Hear that. Nobody wants to hear that, and I don't have anything nice to say. I'm
okay.
Crabbier than hell about that. The college football has brought me out of it, to be honest.
That's good. That's good.
It's
nice. And you get to play, Jack. You get to play again tomorrow, man. There's still games to be played.
Monday.
Yeah, that's right. You're off tomorrow. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we want to hit on with the offense? I mean, it certainly seems like it'd be more fun to maybe spin this forward a little bit and start looking ahead to Indiana.
They gotta be. How are they not better? It was.
Is this the Royals or is this Nebraska? I can't.
No, Nebraska's offense. Nebraska's offense. Last week it was when they got inside the 40. This week it was, kind of everything in the second half. The pass game didn't work. The run game didn't work. You've got all these weapons, and you can't. Josh, they're not using. How do they not use any of the weapons? Yeah. Where are they? Where are the weapons?
Great question. It's very disappointing.
How are they not? If these guys are as good as I think they are, how are they not getting into a place where they can be used frequently?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Because I think we saw it last week. I should pull up the numbers, but wasn't last week the first time this year, maybe since all the way back in the opener, where it was like, hey, they got the receivers involved at a pretty good no, never mind. I guess it was the Illinois game, right? Banks and Nayor had really good games against Illinois in the loss. Yeah, last week Banks went
they had
5 for
huge
8.
games. That was what I thought the norm was going to be going for. Listen, my issue was the defense against Illinois, and that's why I said after the game I was like, I'm going to need to see the defense be better if I want to get hope back.
Yeah,
and then I saw that, but the offense has gotten worse.
Yeah. So last week, Banks led the way with 5 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Nayor only had 1 catch for 14. And it just kind of fits in with, sadly, what has been some like inconsistency from these guys. Nayor has no catches today, and so he still has 17 for 291. The best game that he still has, Jack, is all the way back in the opener. He did have 90 yards versus Illinois, but he had over 100 against UTEP. And in a way, I thought that those two were going to kind of ping pong back and forth between like who has the good game and who doesn't have the good game. Banks has a catch in every game, but he has 2 games with only 1 catch. And then he only had 2 catches for 2 yards versus Colorado. He has 61, 94, and 82 yards in 3 games. And then the others, he has 213 and 31.
Okay.
So it's just very, very inconsistent.
I'll ask the question JP just asked. Are the weapons not as good as we think they are?
Part of me thinks that that's what it is. I think that, I mean, they're not gaining the separation, right? Like how often have we been saying that going all the way back to week 1, that people who were at the stadium were like, yeah, they're just not getting the separation like I thought they would. And, you know, when they played Colorado, I don't know about you, but I know I chalked it up to, oh, well, it's a good defensive backfield. So it's like, okay. But I think now this is kind of who they are. Fedoni, how did Robert Smith describe him today? You know, just the way his running style is when he catches the ball, he's just not super, super fluid. And
my wife, who is a very casual football fan, and I hope he doesn't shush her, he said her comment was, as a non-football fan, she was like, why does he run like Frankenstein?
That's one way to describe it.
You know, he's just, I don't know.
Gangly is how DZ says it. Justin says lanky. I think lanky was the way. It was either lanky or gangly that is how Robert Smith said. Big Red Easy looks like a Lego running. Anyone, he's perky jerky. I think he means herky jerky, but perky jerky is funny.
JP says, my wife literally said the same thing.
Wow.
Okay,
Husker from you. Fedoni probably sounds like a garbage truck when he runs.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so like they get him the ball.
When you get all that stuff with your knee, who knows?
They get him the ball, man, and like he's moving laterally, and I just don't think that that's his game. I don't think that that's his bag right now. And so like
streak up the middle when he's already going.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, okay, so we just named 3 players. We named 2 receivers, and then we named him. Barney.
Like, I think hold on. I think Banks is good. I think Nair is good. I mean, I do. Like, honestly, it's sort of, you can't have Nair not be a part of your game like he was today, in my opinion.
Well, how about the play? They're moving left to right. This is in what would have that been? The 3rd quarter, I believe. And they throw the ball. Dylan throws him the ball. He doesn't get a pass interference penalty. People were pretty frustrated by this. Do you remember this play at all? When Nayor is running down the field, does not get a pass interference penalty. But the thing that Happer and I noticed, it was like he just kind of stopped his route and he didn't continue running along the sidelines. And I think that, and anyone says, never doesn't give 100% on every, or Nayor doesn't give 100% on every play. Yeah. And that was something I thought of on that play. I think if he would have kept going, if he would have fought through that defensive back, I think that he would have drawn a pass interference penalty. And the first interception of the season, wasn't he the receiver that allowed for it to get taken away, or was that the one? No, never mind.
That was Lloyd.
Against
Northern Iowa. He was the second one.
He was the one against Illinois that allowed it to kind of get taken away. Mm-hmm. But then he makes that incredible touchdown catch at the end of the first half versus Illinois as well. Yeah. So it's like, I think he is very. I don't know.
Like, what is the status of Nebraska's weapons? Nair, Banks, Ja'Cory Barney.
I think Barney is the best weapon, right? Like, I feel like
they got it. It was interesting. They got it to him down the field today. Once.
Yeah.
Did they underuse him later? I don't know.
He had no official rushes because he had 3 catches. 2 of them were the little pop pass things, so they counted as passes. Those went for a combined 0 yards, and then he had the 1 catch for 31 yards down the field.
I don't know.
He is definitely a dude, but I do feel like, and this was, I guess, part of my concern last week when we talked about the Mickey Mouse offense type stuff. I just worry that if you defend him and them in a certain way, you can kind of take him out of the game a little bit, and I think that that's what happened today.
Maybe. I mean, maybe
Alex says he is very tiny. He is very tiny.
Maybe Shiano schemed it up, man. I don't know, but the offense should not be. The offense should, with the amount of weapons, with the variety that they've got this year, that shouldn't be happening against anyone, honestly, against anyone.
Well, there's and by the way, Jack, I don't know if you have the game on ESPN2 right now, but Arizona State is driving on Kansas with 35 seconds.
Oh, left. I got to switch to another game. Okay.
Yeah, they're at the 10-yard line. Let me find this comment. Here it is from Big Red Easy. It seems like all of the plays, the wide receivers get the ball. Dylan has to make an incredible throw. Why can't they get the receivers easy catches? Other teams make it look simple.
Endorse times a million.
Yeah, retweet.
The Illinois game was the perfect example of that, but it's gone on throughout the year. Altmaier was on easy mode the entire game with his receivers, right? The whole game. And every time Dylan made a completion, it was like a tight-ass window where he got it in. I agree. Where are the open receivers? In this whole thing. And when they do have them, it's these plays where Dylan's out of the pocket and they're way downfield. Like that's how they get that.
But it's not like an over the middle, get him the ball.
No, it's like a running right, throwing across your body.
It's bigger than easy. It's the layered throws always. It is. It's like, they're the throws, Jack, that we come away from them saying, oh my gosh, what a spectacular throw. But how nice would it be just to be like, yeah, they connected and the guy ran.
Josh, where's Thomas Fidone in the middle of the freaking donut in zone coverage, 8 yards down the field? Where is that ever? Yeah. Where is the outplay? That soft coverage that, you see Nebraska's defense do it, soft coverage, and all they do is just do an out on the sideline, right?
Yeah.
Where
like
is that?
Well, hey, how about the drive that Rutgers has when they get their touchdown? Look at all of the open plays where it's like, get on the ball 7 yards down the field because the defensive back is playing off, and then you go out of bounds. Like, where are those kind of plays?
Yeah. I don't know. I think I completely agree with that point.
Yeah.
Completely agree with that point. It is bizarre how difficult it is for Dylan Raiola to find open receivers against multiple teams. It's not just one team has schemed him up and made it hard. Yeah. I still can't believe they haven't had a guy freaking wide open deep this year. How is that still not happening?
I know that you still haven't really seen that.
When you're running it and where are the open receivers?
Yeah, it's frustrating. So what do you think this means for things moving forward? Like, I don't want to spin this too much because we still have a couple of weeks to go for that Indiana game. But I'm curious how you view this game at this moment in time, given Indiana gets another win, they move to 6-0. Nebraska gets another win, they move to 5-1. This will be, according to all the numbers and certainly the eye test, this will be the best offense Nebraska has played, and it's not even close at this moment in time. In terms of what the raw numbers and what Indiana is able to do on offense. They have, according to GameOnPaper.com, Indiana has the second best offense in the entire country. So.
Okay. I don't know if I believe that.
Easily is going to be the best.
Colorado. You
think Colorado has a better offense than Indiana?
It's a good question. It's an interesting question. I haven't seen enough Indiana. I watched a little of them today, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I'm excited. I mean, that matchup. I genuinely, I have so many questions about the offense, but I am back on the bandwagon of the defense again.
Yeah, this is a great moment for them, man.
I am back on that freaking bandwagon. They have so many guys that I trust. And I think it's been a little rough for Gifford the last couple of weeks, and you've had, Bullock didn't have a huge game today necessarily, but Ty did. Nash had
the linemen were eating again.
Nash had an assist on that interception. Like, he pretty much created that.
Yeah, and Sierra Wright has stepped in, and somebody mentioned a few minutes ago watching it in person, like he made a couple of mistakes and guys got wide open. But that dude is also a baller, and he is around the football a
he's
lot.
Great. He is one of the most, I completely agree with your assessment. Like, there's just something about him where he is, he just gets involved. He messes everything up, you know?
Yeah.
Like I think this defense is really good. I do. I'm again there. I think it's really good. And I don't think Indiana has seen a defense like that. And
they definitely have not.
It doesn't mean I think Nebraska's going to roll in that game, but I don't think Indiana's seen a defense like that. I don't know what's going to happen with Nebraska's offense, but that Indiana offense is not going to roll like it has.
Yeah, let me look real fast. So Nebraska, according to these exact same numbers that I was just looking at, Nebraska's defense ranks interesting. They rank 47th in the country, which is a lot lower, I'm guessing, that we feel that they are right now. But you look at the other teams that they have played: FIU, tin can; Western Illinois, tin can; UCLA oddly has held up better against other teams than they have Illinois. UCLA looks more impressive versus Penn State and LSU. Don't look at me like that. Indiana went into the Rose Bowl and beat them by 29. Would you stop it with this weirdness? LSU, they played LSU.
I thought you were saying you were trying to pay a compliment to UCLA's defense there.
No, this was a compliment to Indiana that they made UCLA look more embarrassing than the other teams.
Okay.
Then they played
I don't disagree with that. I thought you were I thought you were saying UCLA's defense was quality.
I come away from that game more impressed by Indiana by the week because UCLA keeps playing people a little closer. They beat Maryland by 14 fair. and then they play Northwestern. So, like, you're right, and I'm gonna be banging that drum the next couple of weeks too. They have not played a defense anywhere near as good as what Nebraska can do. Near as good as what Nebraska can do.
And when they're playing their best, there's just not a lot of weaknesses on that defense right now. Whatever Illinois did, I still can't figure that out. I still cannot freaking figure that out. But other than that, it'll be fascinating. And Northwestern got some points on them today, didn't they?
They did. They were. I can't remember if they had the lead at any point, but they certainly played them a lot closer. They ended up winning the game by 17 points, but it was not. I would say that this was their ugliest game to date. And it makes me. Well, I guess they turned the ball over 3 or 4 times last week, and they still won by 2 touchdowns. But there's a part of me, Jack, that how we've been all looking forward to like the end of this kind of stretch and getting into the idle week and then going to Indiana and then the Ohio State game. There's a part of me that wonders if Indiana's been in the same boat, but from a different perspective. And that is like, get through these first 6 games, then you have an off week, and then Nebraska starts a stretch that will include them and Michigan and Ohio State, not all in a row, but they also get next week off. And like, it's going to be I think the Michigan game is in Bloomington. So, like, they're looking down the barrel at some of the biggest home games that they have ever had. And so to get by Northwestern like they did, I'm sure that they're like, this is great. We didn't play very well, still won by 17. Get healthier and then welcome Nebraska into town in a couple of weeks.
I don't think you should underestimate how much this team still struggles with Cal. Wow.
Oh, what happened? I have the end of the Kansas game on right now.
Cal just went for it on 4th and 1 and got like a 70-yard touchdown. What in the world? And he's in the middle of the cheerleaders. He's got a pom-pom, Terrell Owens style. Oh my gosh. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, I love you, college football.
It's the best.
Crap, what was I just saying?
Defense. We were talking about defense. We were talking about Indiana. Uh-oh.
Crap,
you lost the thought.
Yeah, I lost. I'll think of it again. Crap, what was I going to say? It was a really good freaking point.
It sounded like you were about to lead into something awesome.
What did I freaking say? Where was
Indiana's offense? Biff says, get multiple TVs for F's sake. So the TV is out in the living room right now, and I didn't feel like moving it in here and then only to move it back out there to watch the NFL tomorrow. So I was just being lazy tonight. And I was watching earlier. This is so inside baseball. At the end of the Michigan game, I was watching that on Peacock, and so I wasn't using my YouTube TV login on anything. I cannot open a second YouTube TV stream in the office because it would kick one of the TVs that Riss is currently right now.
We got that tonight from my son who turned on the Royals game, and we got kicked off it. That was not cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so
At all.
that's what's going. And anyone says quad box. I'm watching on my laptop, and for some reason on your phone, you are able to watch 4 games on the YouTube
But not on
TV
your
app,
computer.
but not on the computer. It is freaking baffling to me that this is the case. Thankfully, there's only one more play left in the Kansas-Arizona State game, and then I can get to the Cal-Miami game.
Oh, is that game? It's that? Wow. Oh, I thought that was a late game.
Kansas has the ball at the 50-yard line right now. They're going to lose most likely and drop to 1-5 on the year, which is just crazy.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's the biggest disappointment of the season.
All right. Hail Mary. And, oh my gosh, they're going to have a chance. Nope, never mind. Knockdown. Arizona State wins.
That's
Kansas
the biggest.
is 1-5.
Kansas is the biggest disappointment of the season.
Dude, how wild is that? How wild is that?
Jade,
Like, it says so much about Leipold that they're 1-5, and we're like, what's going on with Lance Leipold this year? They lost their OC though. They lost their OC. He's at
he went to Penn State.
Yeah, and he had been with Leipold for like 15 years or something. So,
wow.
Yeah. Oh,
Man.
Chris points out Florida State is they're the whatever your question was. They're the answer to that question. The worst or the most underachieving or whatever it is.
Florida State. I don't know. Kansas is close. Man, like I thought Daniels was going to be in the Heisman race.
Yeah, I did too. Jordan asks, are we 5-1 against the spread as well? Yes. Nebraska is indeed 5-1 because they covered by a half
It's
point
funny.
today.
It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like that, does it? You know?
Hey, let's hit on that before we say goodbye. This is a team that for years, you especially, I feel like you have been kind of leading the charge of just like, I just want happiness. I want them to be good. I want them to win. I don't care how it's going to happen. Everyone has said that. They're 5-1, and yet people are, and this isn't you, right? I think this is some other people. But people are frustrated by this team. Is it just the old feelings that come back so easily to us that we start comparing them to the old days? Is it a look situation of they're making these basic mistakes that are very frustrating? How do you explain this? Because they are 4 games over 500. They have covered the spread in every single win. They have a freshman quarterback that had his worst game yet, and it took until game 6 for him to really look like a freshman out there on the football field. And yet I know the scoreboard shows that they won by 7. They pretty much dominated today, especially on defense. What explains this? What explains this mindset surrounding the program?
I think one part of it is so many games have been a tale of two halves where it goes really well for a half. Now the Purdue one was vice versa from all the other ones, but where it looks really good and you get primed up for the second half where you're just going to take the lid off and finish, Mortal Kombat, finish him on that. And they never do. Like, I think that's part of it for one thing. And I think there is so much frustration that the special teams thing can't be fixed.
It is sucking up a lot of the oxygen.
That's sucking up a ton of the oxygen. And I don't blame people. Like, I'm way more frustrated with that than some of the other things that people are frustrated about. Like, it's inexplicable. It's like completely inexplicable that could happen. But like the games themselves, Josh, are weird. Like, what's the most satisfying? I guess it's Colorado, but like we had the whole conversation about how like second half kind of ruined the vibes. Like, they haven't quite had that moment where you're like, oh,
it's UTEP. The answer is UTEP, which is a bummer because that's the first game of the season. But Nebraska's final score happens halfway through the third quarter, and they're just dominating them, and it's awesome. And it feels good. And since then, I do feel like they've really been chasing the ghost of the first half against Colorado, though. That everything came together for 30 minutes where the offense looked unstoppable and the defense was as good as we have seen it play, in quite some time. And so they have not done that. I think that you are right about special teams. I think the special teams is hanging over everything. It is a weight. It is, like you ever go to a trail to walk and you see somebody and they have the backpack or the military stuff with like weights in it. And that's what the special teams is right now. That it's weighing everything down where it is. You begin a show, you begin a pod, and dude, I feel like they could have won. Well, last week they won 28-10. They moved the ball up and down the field on Purdue over and over and over. but special teams ruined it to such a degree that it's like, well, I guess we got to start with special teams again, huh? It is a freaking weight on this season. It's brutal.
It feels like you got to bring it up because it's so shockingly bad, but they can also overcome it, you know?
Yeah. The national people talk about the special team. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, what is Nebraska's special teams doing this time? Like, it is that bad right now, you know?
It's shocking. I mean, I don't know how a dude that second block punt. I don't know how that happens. I really don't. I don't know how you go through practice, you go through the entire spring and off-season workouts and fall, and you realize at this point we've got nobody who can snap the ball. I don't have answers for any of those things. That's the crazy thing. People just don't have answers for those things. And so they feel like they've got to point that out. And then, Josh, the other thing I'll add to all of that, and this gets a little testy for some reason, but Satterfield is always going to have an uphill battle with a bunch of fans. And there will always be, every single game, there will be people who don't like the way that he calls plays. Mm-hmm. Like, I've just accepted that. And I think they'll be right sometimes, and I think they'll be wrong sometimes, but they will always be there forever. And that is part of the dissatisfaction that will come along after wins. So I think that explains a little bit of the feeling that you're talking about.
Yeah, it definitely does. And man, the defense, after being so bad against Illinois, is reminding us of like why we thought that this could be a special season. And so now, you know, I wonder, you go into this off week, and they got two of them now coming up over the next 4 weeks, I believe it is, where they're going to be, so let's see, they're off Indiana, Ohio State, USC, or UCLA rather, and then they're off again. So over the next 5 weeks, they will have 2 weeks where they are off, and then they'll have that stretch run at the end of the year. You wonder how they use this. How do they use this stretch of time off, and what do they tinker with? What do they try to fix, and what can they realistically do?
No offense or defense, all special teams practice. That's what I
seriously.
say.
Yeah, seriously.
All change the personnel, get it where it needs to be, change all of it.
I would be curious to see what they want to do with offense. Sorry, Jack, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Do that thought, and I'll do mine.
Just I am curious to see, like, what do they think they can do with the offense, and how do they make things easier? Is there an easy button that they can press in terms of getting the ball to those guys in space?
It's crazy. It should be that should be there. I don't get why it isn't. The offense should be better than it is. It really should.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say, I remembered what I was gonna say earlier that I forgot. I do think Nebraska mentally going into games, really, if we as a fan base, the things that you and I and everybody else feels going into a game, like a Purdue game, you're like, I'm not super. I remember the Colorado game, Josh. I woke up and I was on fire from the minute I woke up. I was texting I was playing songs that pumped me up. I was texting my son, all of those things. And then it was just like every game after that, for me personally, even this morning, I walked my dog the same place I walked him when I walked him before the Colorado game. And I was a little I was like, I don't feel as pumped up as I did during that game. And I think there is a little bit of that with the team. I think the way we feel about these games is also the way that the team feels about these games. And I think Purdue was hard to get up for. I think Illinois was a little bit hard to get up for. I'm not saying it should have been. The coach needs to do that for sure. But I think that was there, if I'm being honest. And I think I seriously think there's a Colorado hangover that has come the last few weeks after this, because you have not been able to meet the emotion of that. Now, that said, I think you're going into maybe a weirdly good situation 2 weeks from right now.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page right now. Why do you say that?
I think you're maybe because Indiana is going to be the story of that game.
Yes, they are.
Sort of shocking.
Yes, it is.
Indiana is going to be the story of that game, and they're a little there's a little bit of Signetti confidence, and it's a little bit, it's not completely there. It's a little bit of Colorado there. there's a little bit of Colorado. It's in crimson. It looks a little bit different, but there's a little bit of Colorado there.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, 2 weeks from now, when I walk my dog in the morning before the Indiana game, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to be a lot more pumped up than I was before Illinois, before I was where I was before Purdue, where I was today, because I kind of already am annoyed with Indiana in a way that I wasn't annoyed with any of those teams. And I think if I feel that way, I think the players are usually feeling at least a modicum of that too. And I think that's been part of the problem. I really think it is. I think they thrive on emotion. So, I don't know. We'll see it. We may watch that game and you'd be like, Jack, you're totally wrong. Or you go into the game and you're like, I don't really feel like that. But that's my gut reaction about what that game is going to feel like. I think Indiana's going to come in a little pretty high on themselves. And Nebraska is going to feel, I don't know what the line's going to be, but Nebraska is going to be made to feel like the disrespected underdog in that game. And I think they're going to take that to heart.
Couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. A couple people were wondering about the line, and you just mentioned it. I think Nebraska will be a dog. I think they're going to be a dog by about a field goal. Coming into the week, SP Plus, Bill Connolly's numbers had Nebraska as like the tiniest of tiny favorites, 0.2, but it's going to be on the road. And Indiana looked a little bit better, I think, than Nebraska did today. So they're going to be a favorite. Jack, Nebraska is going to be able to go on the road in a game where, like you said, Indiana is the story. And they are going to say, like, it's us against the world, but in the good way, not in the old Bo Pelini way.
I agree.
And, like,
I think
Matt
that's
Rhule,
how it's going to feel.
Like, dude, I think that you are onto something. And there's been a few other comments about that Colorado game and how it was like, and you won, shot their wad on Colorado. Dude, that game, there was another one that I want to read, if I can find it real fast, that it was, here it was from Alex. I think last year's CU result was pretty much the motivation of the entire offseason. You know, one of the things that I felt comfortable saying a lot this offseason was like the game was that fork in the road, T in the road moment because of what I was hearing about how important it was. And in a way, I do wonder if it's worked to their detriment because they came out, they played so well, and then they won comfortably. But it's like, Jack, it was the second game of the season. It's one thing if that's like game 12. If you have this long crescendo, Ohio State versus Michigan, for example, right? Like they're always thinking about each other, but there's 11 games before that. So you got to focus on every single one of those 11 games. And then it finally arrives, you know, a couple days after Thanksgiving and you can go after them. Nebraska's big moment came in week 2. And I think that there has been a hangover with them.
100%.
And so this is a hell of a spot for this year's team because they get healthy. Whoever is hurt that can come back in 2 weeks, this is their great opportunity. And they're going to go on the road, and they are not going to be the story. Coach Siggs in Indiana, the Hoosiers, they're going to be a favorite. And that's the thing. Like Indiana all year, they've been favorites, but they haven't been a favorite in a game like this. And it's going to be, again, I mentioned them. They got Michigan coming into town. They got Ohio State coming into town. I like this, Jordan. So we're in the now what phase? 100%. And I think Indiana has been looking ahead to these other games. I think they're looking ahead. The fans are looking ahead to the Michigan game. And it's like, yeah, let's just get by Nebraska so we can welcome Michigan into town and give them what they've got coming towards them. But it's like, dude, look at all the weird shit that happened in the sport today. Look at all the teams that ruined other
100%.
teams' seasons. Nebraska could do that to Indiana in 2 weeks.
Josh, there are easy and there are hard motivational games. And good coaches do a good job during the hard motivational games. That said, I think this is going to be an easier motivational game than you think. And easier than any game since Colorado.
Yeah. I think you're right, too, about the way that you are going to feel about Indiana. I think that other people are going to feel the same way. I think people are going to be ready to be annoyed as hell.
He's going to say something. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, Coach Siggs. We got 2 weeks, baby. We got 2 weeks to go until that
fun.
Game.
Hey,
it's going to be fun.
Not talking about a loss. One game for bowl eligibility. I think that'll be something, too. That's going to motivate him.
Yeah. Hey, if they
it's gonna
win,
be a fun game. I can't wait.
I know a lot of people thought that they would or could certainly be 7-0. If they win that game, Jack, 6-1. I think most people, if you would have offered that contract to them before the year, say you're 6-1 going into Ohio State, people would have said, "Sign me up, sign me up." I don't think very many people would have said like, "No, I'd rather play my hand and hope for 7-0."
Hey,
so
I got vindicated for saying I wouldn't take 2-1.
You did, yeah. You're off to a good start. There. Oh man. Riss, my wife listening from the other side of the door says 2007 intensifies. Yeah, we'll certainly have to get into that a little bit more next week. We're gonna have a limited week of shows with the bye week, and I'm traveling for the Chicago Marathon. But we would love to have you becoming a subscriber at patreon.com/I-80 Club. We will still have a couple of pods next week. We've mentioned it on multiple shows recently. If you missed it, Jack is going to be doing a Nebraska basketball podcast starting the first Friday of November. Is it the first? Is it literally November the 1st?
Yes, the day after Halloween. Yes,
day after Halloween.
That's the Nebraska Ball brunch show will start then at 11 a.m. on the 1st.
11 a.m. on that. We're going to have a Nebraska basketball postgame show for select games this year as well. And we have more plus one pods coming up in the next few weeks, including someone that we're very excited to talk to, and Doug Maurice. Jack's going to talk to Kent Pavelka. Dirk Chatelain will join us in November. We'd love to have you. So like and subscribe to the YouTube page. And if you want to hang out with us at all times, patreon.com/I-80 Club.
If you do that, you can do the content tier where you get all of the podcasts immediately, all of the YouTubes live when they're happening. If you do the community tier, you can be a part of the Discord. You can meet a lot of friends. You can ask questions, do comments, everything during the shows. Yep. People have really appreciated the Discord, and I think you will too. So consider trying it out at least.
Yeah, Patreon.
And if you don't want to pay any damn money, think about just liking and subscribing on the Facebook page.
Page.
Or excuse me, the YouTube page. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Like and subscribe to the YouTube
page.
We'd love to have you.
Don't do that.
Yeah. And I don't think we ever will.
Thank goodness.
I don't think we ever will.
Yes.
All right, Jack, you and I are back Tuesday night because you're going to Game 3 of the LDS. We're back Tuesday night, 8:30 is when we will be on, 8:30. So we'll
Patrons only.
Patrons only. So we'll see our subscribers then. We'll have another pod coming up next week as well. All right, thank you everyone for joining us. For Jack, I am Josh. Enjoy the rest of your night. Nebraska's 5-1. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.